Garrett, let's go through your first spoiler. Who are you picking to ruin somebody's season this year?
Well, look, before I get accused of being a homer because of the hat on my head and some of my background, I want to point out that we are not Aggie homers on this podcast. We are Longhorn homers. Okay,
According to
just check
Twitter.
our Twitter. You can verify that for sure. But no, I am picking Texas A&M to be a spoiler this year. Look, last year, not the way A&M fans wanted it to go. I don't think anybody really saw that coming. Josh Pate had them as bust proof last year, and he said that was one of his worst takes of last year because clearly the Aggies busted. You have multiple players out for injury, the drama with the freshman class, lots of issues, obviously. Um, this year, I think that they're in a prime position to kind of return to where they should be and kind of where they were going as a program. That's not to say that they're going to necessarily compete for the SEC. Probably not going to compete for the SEC West, but looking at the schedule and the way everything lines up for them, Texas A&M plays two true road games before November. There are only two games where they really go on the road. They go to Miami and they go to Tennessee. Now, Miami, who knows what they're going to look like. Tennessee, they were pretty good last year. They probably going to be good this year. Who knows what they're going to do regressing after, Hendon Hooker leaves, after Jalen Hyatt leaves. But, there's a couple of teams on this schedule in the middle of that home stretch that are going to have to circle this game. And the first one's going to be Alabama on that list. Alabama's got to circle this game. Last time they went to College Station, they lost. Again, kind of the same thing I was just saying with Ohio State. Going to be breaking in a new quarterback. It's tough to break in a new quarterback on the road. If it's beginning of October and Alabama's not taking it too serious with A&M, they could be walking out with a loss and see their season derailed. Other than that, we saw what A&M did last season to kind of derail LSU playoff hopes. There's a couple other teams on this that you're looking at, maybe a South Carolina or again a Tennessee. Look, A&M may not compete for the whole thing, but if you think that they're not going to knock one of these teams out of contention for the SEC, out of contention for a playoff, you got another thing coming to you because this team, I've watched this team for several years now. This team always seems to come up with one or two games a season where they jump up and grab somebody they have no business jumping up and grabbing. This year, we could be looking at that with the Bama and LSU once again.
I think A&M could fall in either of these categories, honestly, spoiler or soiler. But you're absolutely right. They're going to have a ton of opportunities to derail some serious playoff contender seasons, starting with that Alabama game. Alabama and Tennessee back to back is absolutely brutal. I can't imagine how the team is going to navigate that, especially if they win that Alabama game, and then have to travel to a rowdy Knoxville immediately the following week. But there's just a ton of opportunities, right? And I think they're catching a lot of teams this year as maybe their first big test game, right? Like I think Alabama has Texas at home on week 2, but this is the first big road game for the Crimson Tide, if I'm remembering that correctly. And we'll jump into Alabama a little bit later, but Tennessee, same thing. This is a big first test for them. A lot of these teams are going to be tested by A&M. A&M's pass rush is going to be a problem for a lot of offensive lines this year. Whether or not they can score points, that's going to definitely remain to be seen. If Bobby Petrino can come in and work some magic there, this could be a really scary team. But what we do know is defensively, the Aggies are going to be in games, right? The problem wasn't getting blown out last year. The problem was the defense was keeping them in games for the most part, and the offense just couldn't keep up scoring points. There were a couple outliers there throughout the schedule, Mississippi State, Florida in particular, but a lot of the other games, the problem was just they couldn't put points on the board. So if A&M can put points on the board just marginally better than last year, they're going to be a problem for a lot of teams.
I think I'm so torn because, like you're saying, A&M has the talent to be a 10-2 team, to jump up and bite somebody, but because we don't know truly what the offense is going to look like, and there are plenty of reasons to think that A&M's offense will not only take a step forward, but could be like a top 40 offense when you look at what Bobby Petrino's been able to do, the talent that he has available, and yet it's Texas A&M. And so I find myself waiting to cast judgment until I absolutely have to. there's no doubt this team should be able to compete from a blue chip perspective, from a returning production perspective. I mean, the Ags are going to be favored in those categories on almost every single team that they play, really, other than Alabama. So they should be a spoiler this year. We'll just have to wait and see. But I do think the Ags are being slept on this year after what was such a terrible year in 2022. Jimbo's got to turn around, right? Jimbo's got a fire under him. Otherwise, these rumors of him being on the hot seat will start to actually be true.
Yeah.
So, we'll wait and see for the Ags, and some of us are going to root for them, and some of them are going to root against it, and that's okay.
Gracious him! How about